Everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
All right, it's time to weave out the lies so we can get to the facts. The truth is finally being said out loud, and this time it's coming from President Trump himself. So, President Trump took to Truth Social to deliver a blistering condemnation of the war in Ukraine and, more importantly, of the people responsible for it. Let me read for you exactly what he had to say. The war between Russia and Ukraine is Biden's war, not mine. I just got here, and for 4 years during my term, had no problem in preventing it from happening. President Putin and everyone else respected your president. I had nothing to do with this war, but I'm currently working diligently to get the death and destruction to stop. If the 2020 presidential election was not rigged, and it was in so many ways, that horrible war would never have happened. President Zelensky and crooked Joe Biden did an absolutely horrible job in allowing this travesty to begin. There were so many ways of preventing it from ever starting, but that is the past. Now we have to get it to stop and fast. Now, as you may or may not know, or believe it or not, everything President Trump said in that post is absolutely true. President Trump actually added more information to all of this 2 days ago on video.
That's a war that should have never been allowed to start, and Biden could have stopped it, and Zelensky could have stopped it, and Putin should have never started it. Everybody's to blame.
Have you spoken to President Zelensky, sir, about his offer to purchase more Patriot missile batteries?
Oh, I don't know. He's always looking to purchase missiles. You know, he's against. Listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war. Right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size, and then hope that people give you some missiles.
So, yeah, pretty much here's the truth about this entire situation. If you want to know what strong global leadership looks like, look at President Trump's first 4 years in the White House. There was no war in Ukraine. Not a single inch of land was invaded. And you know why? Because the world respected President Trump's strength. Because strength, not endless aid packages, keeps the peace. Then contrast that with what we've had for the last 4 years. President Trump leaves office, Biden comes in, and within months, Putin invades. And now, years later, the war still rages with no end in sight. Thanks to the very people who started it, Biden, Putin, and yes, Zelensky. And on that note, take a look at this.
Do you have a reaction to Russia's Palm Sunday attack on Ukraine?
I think it was terrible, and I was told they made a mistake, but I think it's a horrible thing. I think the whole war is a horrible thing. I think the war is, for that war to have started, is an abuse of power. This country would have never allowed that war to have started if I were president. That war is a shame. Millions of people are dead that should be alive. Cities are being destroyed all over Ukraine. The whole culture is gone. It's certainly very severely hurt. You know, the chapels, the churches, the spirals, all of the things that they had in Ukraine were among the most beautiful anywhere in the world. Most have been knocked down and blown up into a million pieces. But most importantly, you have millions of people dead that shouldn't be dead.
So, there you have it. He's absolutely right. Trump just affirms all of this directly. He says that Biden, Putin, and Zelensky are all to blame, and he calls out Zelensky for constantly begging for more American tax dollars without doing anything to actually bring this war to an end. And that right there is the problem. Zelensky doesn't seem to want peace. He doesn't want diplomacy. He wants American money. He wants American weapons, and he wants them forever. And guess what? While Joe Biden emptied out our military stockpiles and bled out our economy to keep Ukraine afloat, what happened here at home? Our infrastructure fell apart. Our southern border was left wide open, and families have been struggling with inflation. But none of those issues mattered to Joe Biden or the Democrats. All that mattered was fueling a war that had no clear goal, no clear objective, and no clear end in sight. Meanwhile, President Trump is out here working overtime to actually stop the bloodshed. He's offering diplomacy, solutions, and negotiation, not just because it's the smart thing to do, but because it's the right thing to do. Because America doesn't win in a forever war. Nobody does. America wins when peace is restored and our resources are used to rebuild our own country, not someone else's. But you know what the worst part about all of this is? Zelensky has had the nerve to publicly rebuke and undermine President Trump. That's right. The same man who the American taxpayers have given billions of dollars to is now going around publicly undermining President Trump refusing to participate in peace talks. That is how Zelensky has decided to repay American generosity with disrespect and entitlement, and that should be the final straw. This is no longer about protecting, quote-unquote, Ukraine. It's about protecting the egos of weak, failed world leaders like Biden and Zelensky and all of their progressive handlers. And here's what it really boils down to. President Trump doesn't want America to foot the bill for someone else's disaster, and we shouldn't. He's not here to fund endless conflict. He's here to protect you, your money, your family, your future here in America. President Trump has made it very clear. We need peace, and we need it now. That's why he's called out the Democrats' reckless foreign policy. That's why he's called out Zelensky's irresponsible leadership and refusal to participate in peace talks, and that's why he's demanding the war in Ukraine be brought to an immediate end. And you know what? The next time someone tries to shame you for questioning this never-ending war in Ukraine, ask them how many more billions of dollars need to be spent. Ask them how many American-made weapons need to vanish into Eastern Europe. Ask them how many more lives need to be lost before they're finally satisfied. Because here's the truth. Right now, President Trump is the only world leader that is actually fighting for peace and to put an end to this never-ending war in Ukraine. For years now, leaders around the globe, including our own, have just turned a blind eye to all of the unnecessary bloodshed going on in Eastern Europe. In fact, they were actually making the situation worse by funneling hundreds of billions of dollars into the conflict and refusing to pursue peace negotiations. Hundreds of thousands of lives have been lost and hundreds of billions of dollars have been wasted, all while our own country was deteriorating, and not a single leader actually had a coherent plan to resolve the situation. And like we said earlier, one of the most important figures in all of this, Volodymyr Zelensky, has just completely refused peace talks for years now, instead just asking for more money and more weapons. It's absolutely insane, given how many lives have been lost and how many billions of dollars have been wasted as a consequence of this completely unnecessary war in Ukraine. Thank God that President Trump is back in the White House. Don't be afraid to subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you found it informative. Hell, even share it with your family and friends. And let's talk about it in the comments here on Facts Only.